by Justice Bahati Mwamuye with regards to the spate of abductions in the country. Question is, what is that with the Inspector Generals in this country failing to honor court summons? Are they above the law? That is where we begin tonight. First of all, the highlights.
On Monday, 27th January 2025 at 9:30 a.m., the attendance of the Inspector General of Police in person shall be required.
Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja fails to appear in court to address the ongoing investigations into alleged abductions, with the High Court giving him 14 days to respond or face contempt of court.
Because of the historical debt accumulated under the NHF, that historical debt, the government is also trying to offset incrementally. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki urges hospitals awaiting payments to exercise patience as the government works to address challenges in the Taifa Care program.
Alitisha chakula, dadangu akamwambia hatukupika usiku. Sasa ndio akaanza kusema sasa naye atalipisa kisasi. Ndio akaingia na huko ndani akachukua mafuta. Akakuja akamwagilia dada yangu.
A woman from Maragua is fighting for her life after being allegedly dosed with kerosene and set on fire by her boyfriend during a domestic dispute.
Looking at 2025, we are hoping that the issues around unpredictability of the business environment is going to be addressed.
Over 300 companies were shut down in 2024 due to tough economic conditions and government policies, leaving thousands of Kenyans jobless. Welcome to the program. I am Ian Keitani and our sign language interpreter is Walter Asewa. This is a bulletin that you can watch live across our social media platforms at K24 TV. We kickstart our bulletin now, and Justice Bahati Mwamuye of the High Court has warned that he will convict and sentence Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja for contempt of court if he fails to appear in court on January 27th to explain ongoing investigations into alleged abductions. Kanja failed to appear today, citing security duties. Elsewhere, the High Court has also ruled that former Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome is accountable and personally liable for the police officers who assaulted Dr. Daji Atela during a peaceful doctors' protest in 2024. David Kagina opens our bulletin tonight.
The Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja faces mounting pressure from the courts as he grapples with the surge in abduction cases across the country.
Your Lordship, it has been conduct and becoming in this country that court orders are thought of as mere pieces of paper. On behalf of the Law Society of Kenya, we will not condone that culture and we will not condone that habit.
The orders were not that the respondents may be represented by any other party. The orders were they appear in person. So to that extent, my lord, there is a contempt on the face of this court.
The High Court has issued a firm ultimatum. Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja must appear in court on January 27, 2025 to address the rising number of abductions. This follows his repeated failure to respond to court summons, prompting Justice Bahati Mwamuye to warn of potential contempt of court charges.
And we know it is not just the 8 now, but according to the Kenya Human Rights Commission, over 80, actually 82, have been abducted between July and now.
This stern action stems from growing public outrage over the alarming increase in mysterious disappearances. Rights activists and families of victims are increasingly accusing the police of either complicity or negligence.
We shall be advising our client, one Kipchumba Murkomen, to advise the IG and the AG to move with speed to the Court of Appeal to stay the orders for the IG to be produced in court. The IG appears in Parliament, and if this matter goes to the Parliament, the IG will appear, he'll defend himself, he'll provide evidence of what he knows and what is not known.
This case underscores the mounting challenges facing the Office of the Inspector General, which has been plagued by accusations of police brutality, particularly during the anti-government protests that erupted last year. Elsewhere, Justice Nga Jairus of the High Court delivered a landmark ruling establishing that the Inspector General of National Police Service is personally accountable for the action of officers under their command that infringe upon the constitutional rights of citizens. As the January 27th deadline looms, the Inspector General's next move will not only determine his legal standing, but also profoundly impact public perception of the National Police Service commitment to justice and reform, particularly now that the door has been opened for personal legal action against him for the misconduct of his subordinates during his tenure. David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
Now, human rights activists and the Law Society of Kenya are ramping up pressure on authorities for clarity on recent abductions following the release of 5 abductees on January 6th. At a Milimani court hearing, LSK president accused IG Kanja of contempt of court, stressing the need for justice. The petitioner's legal team expressed growing concern for the safety of those who are still missing. Now, meanwhile, Justice Chacha Mwita issued orders for the unconditional release of 4 individuals whose whereabouts remain unknown after their abduction from Mlolongo. Alanoino reports.
The release of 5 abductees on the 6th of January in different parts of the country. Human rights activists under the Kenya Commission of Human Rights alongside the Law Society of Kenya today continued to mount pressure on the policing authorities to shed light on the circumstances of the abductions.
In person.
During the hearing of the abductions case at the Milimani courts, LSK President Faith Odhiambo, while demonstrating IG Kanja's contempt of court, argued that there was need for justice to be served today based on the last order issued by the court.
My request would be let the court stick to the priority, that we are able to secure the petitioners. That is the reason we are before this honorable court. They ought to give us an explanation because some of the parents are present, and if you remember, my lord, in this honorable court, one of the parents cried before this court. Yes. And we still have, even if you say in the public domain, we know petitioners that are still missing, and we do not know their whereabouts. We must get answers today. At least that justice must be served to that extent.
The litigation team representing the petitioners further arguing that they were getting more worried about the safety of the remaining abductee yet to be released.
However, we have not received any report that the 7th petitioner has been released. And more so because the others have been released, of course, we now have a grave concern about the safety or the whereabouts of the 7th petitioner. And that is why, Your Lordship, the IG himself, as you had clearly ordered, should have presented himself to court to explain. Your Lordship, the order was very clear and specific.
Stacey Mutua, Steve Mbisi's sister, says they've accepted the outcome and only hope that the abductors return their loved one, as they have close to zero hopes with the courts.
Tulikuwa tunatarajia maybe ataletwa kotini leo, ama maybe watasema we come maybe sooner, but we accept the outcome anyway. We are devastated because we are hoping maybe they'll say we come on Friday. It'll be brought to court on Friday, because them giving them a longer date, that means mahali amekwa, they'll still continue keeping him till that date, so we don't know. You know, I wish angekuwa nasikia, because his phone goes unanswered. We've been trying to keep calling his number, so naomba tu pali yuko ajue bado tunamtafuta.
Meanwhile, Justice Chacha Mwita has today issued orders in a petition filed by the LSK for the unconditional release of Mr. Justice Mutumwa, Martin Mwau, Karani Mwema and Stephen Kavingo, who were picked at Mlolongo and whose whereabouts are still unknown. Alan Owino for K24.
To matters health now, and Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has urged hospitals awaiting payments to exercise patience as the government addresses the bottlenecks in the public health insurance scheme shift and the now defunct NHIF. Now speaking during an inspection of Taifa Care operations at the Kenyatta National Hospital, the DP encouraged Kenyans to register for Taifa Care under the Social Health Authority.
Days after hospitals raised concerns over delayed payment and unsettled claims under the defunct NHIF and the Social Health Authority, the government has acknowledged the challenges. Deputy President Kindiki, during his visit to Kenyatta National Hospital, appealed for more time to clear pending payments in phases.
Many facilities are still having a bit of issues because of the historical debt accumulated under the NHIF. That historical debt, the government is also trying to offset incrementally.
The delay in payment has significantly impacted hospitals, with some nearing closure. Meanwhile, as mass registration continues under the Social Health Insurance Fund, patients and healthcare facilities are still grappling with unresolved clearance issues.
We still have 1 or 2 administrative procedural hiccups, some of it related to documentation, some of it consistently resolving those hiccups to make sure that Taifa Care delivers universal health coverage for all the people of Kenya.
The government has also faced criticism for the inadequate funding allocated to primary healthcare facilities.
Those dispensaries and health centers have been tied to the primary healthcare fund. That primary healthcare fund is the most underfunded fund in the transition. That the funding for those facilities per person is 900 shillings per year. And I would like them to understand that that translates to 75 shillings per month.
The total budget is 6.2 billion, according to the data that have been given. And that amount of money, therefore, may not be adequate, and therefore we are looking at ways of, if, for example, through the supplementary budget, we can, again, resources permitting, adjust a bit of resources. But as you know,
a survey conducted by the Rural Urban Private Hospitals Association, RUFA, revealed that by the end of December, 80% of 263 surveyed facilities had not received claim payments from the Social Health Authority. Eunice Omolo, K24 TV.
Now, both houses of parliament have faced significant criticism in recent weeks amid accusations of being under the influence of the executive. As the issue of abductions continues to escalate, Parliament has been accused of ignoring this critical matter while prioritizing executive concerns. This comes as the National Assembly has scheduled a session for Thursday next week to discuss various issues, including executive appointments, just days after the leadership denied a request for special sitting to address the growing spate of abductions in the country.
I invite the President-elect to come forward and receive his certificate.
Despite Kenyans electing their leaders every 5 years, once the election is over, the narrative shifts. Elected leaders often focus on pleasing their political masters rather than addressing the needs of their constituents. This was particularly evident during the debate and voting on the 2024 finance bill, where many legislators chose to side with political interests over concerns of the electorate. The bill was eventually rejected by President William Ruto after public pressure, leaving legislators with little to show for their actions. The ongoing abduction crisis has intensified public concerns, yet the leadership of the House seems to be playing politics with the issue. Speaker Amason Kingi, Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, and others close to President Ruto have been seen prioritizing executive matters over the pleas of lawmakers calling for special sittings to discuss abductions. MPs, including Babu Owino and Nyandarua Senator John Methu, had requested special sittings, but their appeals were dismissed, citing procedural issues. Meanwhile, a special sitting to discuss executive appointments was swiftly approved, with the session set for January 16. However, pertinent questions continue to be raised. Why were the requests to address the abductions rejected, while issues related to the executive took precedence? Is Parliament being influenced by the executive? A report by TIFA late last year revealed that only 1% of Kenyans trust both the National Assembly and the Senate, confirming fears that the institutions have neglected matters crucial to the public. If this trend continues, the only recourse for the electorate may be at the ballot box during the next general elections. The special sitting scheduled for next week will focus on approving nominees for various posts, including William Kabogo, Mutahi Kagwe, and former Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui. In addition, former CSs including Ababu Namwamba, Andrew Karanja, and Margaret Ndungu are set to be voted for ambassadorial roles on Friday. Well, on that note, we just take a brief breather. We'll be back in a moment.
This new year, say yes to a new world of entertainment on Star Times. Enjoy the finest family entertainment on all your favorite channels. Recharge your subscription for 2 months and get upgraded to the next higher bouquet for 2 months. Kick off the new school year with a world full of adventures on our kiddie channels.
Awesome, that's amazing!
The excitement of sports action in the Carabao Cup, Bundesliga and La Liga. Who will be